Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dirtying the Frame. My name is Sarah, and this is Assad.
Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone.
Today we are talking about the Iron Claw. Why do I always do that? No one asked me for it.
I think no one even asked for this pod, but we do that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Nobody wants it, but we're giving it to you anyway with the Iron Claw. Oh, my face. Oh, my gosh. Assad.
Yes.
Wrestling is your favorite sport.
Yeah, I like the way they dribble up and down the court. They, some of my rapping ability for free there. Careful. Yes, I think I am, as you were the expertise on Barbie, this is my world, okay? You just sit down and relax, okay? You just be the pretty face on this fucking pod,
I don't know if I can do that, but I can relax.
Okay, all right.
This is how I relax. Is this how you guys relax?
Yeah, you're nailing it.
Thank you
Looks
so
like you're
much.
part of the huddle, the bro huddle back there. Yes, like all men my age, I was a big WWE, WCW fan, Attitude Era, huge. Like everyone, you know, Rock, Stone Cold, Heartbreak Kid. Shawn Michaels is the best wrestler of all time. But yeah, so this is my wheelhouse. Was excited to see this. Good trailers too. I think it won some of our trailer trashes. So we went to go Cinépolis in Inglewood, which is a huge movie theater. And now it's on you, kiddo.
We did. And before we get into this movie, The Iron Claw.
Yes.
Is it just Iron Claw or The Iron Claw?
The Iron Claw.
The Iron Claw. So I know, I just was testing you. I have a question about something adjacent, but not completely related to this film.
Hit me.
I went and saw a movie at AMC recently.
Okay.
And I have a question.
Yes.
What do we do about, you're a creative person, you're a creative mind. What do we do about the AMC Nicole Kidman stinger? Is that what we call it? What do you call it? Before the trailer, before the film. She does the famously, sometimes heartbreak feels good in a place like this. I can't do an Australian accent very well. And everybody loves it, right? We all clap and everyone gets excited to see it because it's funny, it's corny, it's classic, it's iconic. She's wearing the pinstripe suit with glitter somehow in the threads. But I'm feeling like the audience is getting fatigued by it. We're not as excited. Nobody clapped, nobody gasped, nobody got excited. What's the move here, Assad, in your creative brain? Do we keep it the same because it's classic, iconic, everybody loves it? Or do we revamp it with somebody else? Do we revamp it with Nicole? This is what's on my mind daily.
It's a good question, and I'll answer it like this. I was at a business brunch with a couple of blowhards and a couple of movers and shakers in the industry.
Oh.
And one of them, very famous film director, I won't say their name, but last name is Spielberg, looks at me and he says, "Kid, you'll be lucky for people to get sick of you in this business. Sign of success." So that's my answer.
You just made that whole thing up.
I lie. That's what I do. How'd you like Iron Claw?
Let's talk about Iron Claw. Main attraction, quick summary. The true story of the inseparable, is that the word?
Yeah.
Inseparable Von Erich brothers, who make history in the intensely competitive world of professional wrestling in the early 1980s. Though through tragedy and triumph, under the shadow of their, I can read, guys, I swear. Under the shadow of their domineering father and coach, the brothers seek larger-than-life immortality on the biggest stage in sports.
Sounds interesting.
Sounds interesting. One-word summary. I'm very proud of this one. Are you ready?
2, 1.
Baywatch.
Painful.
Painful?
What'd you say?
Baywatch?
Baywatch.
Because that was the last movie I believed Zac Efron did a good job in.
Oh, no. We're not hating on Zach. We're not hating on Z. Are we hating on Z this early? Come on, man.
He pulled it off. Go back to Baywatch. It was great.
This is the only time I will tell you this as someone who represents the major majority in society. You're in the minority here.
What do you mean?
People are loving the Zac Efron performance. Bloggers, journalists, critics, they're loving Zac Efron with bangs.
Do you think that? No, all right. Well, that's maybe I'm an outlier.
Okay.
I was gonna say something worse, but I decided to be kind.
Yes.
We didn't choose violence today. This was a movie about family.
Okay.
They didn't have coronas, but it was about family.
Yes.
So very, very similar to Fast and the Furious, minus the good acting of Fast and the Furious.
Oh, so you feel away. Listen, man, I will say, It's always tough critiquing film, especially that it's about a true story about a real family that had real tragedy happen to them. Separating that, I always have to do our disclaimer so we don't get in trouble. But honestly, you don't want to critique things that are happened to like a true family. If I'm just judging the film, we'll get into it. But this was, I was very surprised that the critics are really liking this film, and that was not my experience in this 2-hour film that felt like 3. Holy shit!
It is doing very well on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
We have a 89% Rotten Tomatoes score, and 93% of Google users liked this movie.
Yeah.
We were the 7%.
Yes.
Assad and I were the other percent of this film.
The 7% is also Zac Efron's BMI.
True. He got so jacked for this movie. Should we get into it?
Yes, please.
In the beginning of this movie, we meet a family. We meet 3 boys in tidy whities.
Yes, Kevin, David.
You could say anything.
Yeah, okay.
I'd be like, good job.
Yes.
Great research. We meet 3 boys in tidy whities. I was going to say most of whom are jacked, but I think only Zac Efron's really jacked and stacked.
Yes, the Stanley Simons who plays Mike Von Erich is a little skinnier.
Skinnier, because he's not into wrestling like Zach is.
Facts.
Zach's juicing. Mm-hmm. Zach's juicing for the wrestling.
Facts.
And who amongst us wouldn't? So Zac Efron, the other 2 boys, and then we've got Mom, who's played by Moira Tierney, and then
plays Doris Von Erich. Yes.
And then Dad, who is played by Assad.
Yeah.
Not played by Assad, but played by
Holt McCallany. His name is Fritz Von Erich. His dad named Fritz.
Fritz.
Yes.
My grandma on my mom's side her last name was Fritzy.
Oh.
So we must be very German. Sorry, America, for everything. So we meet the family. Mom is seemingly, I don't know, what would you describe her as? She's a little aloof, not aloof, but she doesn't seem to be so interested in the boys. She's taking care of them. She's doing her job. But Dad is the one who is cracking the whip. You guys got to do better. You got to try harder. Here's what we're going to do. Really just laying it on thick right from the beginning. We got biscuits for breakfast, bacon, and then there's a lot of butter just spread on real thick on the top of this movie.
Yes. Yes. You quickly learn that Maura Tierney, who plays Doris, the mom, who I've always loved, Maura Tierney.
Me too.
She's just a woman who would be any woman in a house full of men. She's the only female in sight, brute men, and you quickly learn they lost a child very young as well. So if being in a house with all men didn't make you withdrawn enough as a female, she also lost a child very young. So she's just the mom. That's kind of the figure. Dad runs the house, and she says, go talk to everybody else if it's important.
So, yeah, I think now in hindsight, after seeing this movie, it's kind of the penny is dropping that because she lost her firstborn son at 6 years old, that she was maybe after that just never the same.
Yes.
They don't dive too deep into her story. She's just kind of sitting there being cold for seemingly no reason. So now the penny's dropped and I understand it, but they don't spend a lot of time on the female characters in this film, which is usually Assad's gripe. But today,
well, I honestly think it makes sense in this film. Yeah, she's just not supposed to be a figure. No, there's nothing important about her. The dad is kind of
abusive,
maniacal, abusive, and he runs the house, and it's in the 1980s. So yeah, most women weren't having too much of a say in the household back then.
Yeah, so we see her serving the breakfast, the boys are all coming down, and the dad is the one who is running the show at this point, and he is telling all of his boys what they need to be doing better, how they need to be working harder, and pushing them to greatness. Now, this is one way of parenting that I think might be effective and also very traumatic. And you can tell that Zach's character is pretty much bought in, and he is agreeing with Dad, and he is really going hard. He just came back from a run. His job in this family is to please his father, you know, and his younger siblings are not as interested. One of them really wants to be in a band, and one of them, I don't know, the other one just isn't as good at fighting. He's good on the mic, he's good at talking, but he's not what his dad is hoping him to be. And then Zac Efron at one of the wrestling matches, and pause me if you want to cover anything in between here, but Zac Efron meets Lily James at one of their local wrestling matches where he's performing. He walks outside, there's a bunch of fans, and Lily James comes up and asks for an autograph. And I would like to spring this on you, Assad. Are you ready?
Yes, please.
Let's reenact the scene where Zac Efron and Lily James meet.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
I want an autograph. I want you to ask me out.
Is that right?
Didn't your papa ever tell you anything? You're supposed to ask a girl out.
All right.
Okay, so when you're going to take me out, let's do it and let's get married, shall we?
Academy's going to say this is a good performance.
And scene. Well done. And with no pre-notice for that. So
Hey,
great
Sarah,
job.
can I get your opinion, first thoughts on this, the first act of this? You're following Zac Efron, who is obviously the movie is centered around. He's supposed to be the golden goose, although the dad is like, anybody can be the next big thing. Obviously, they want to be the best, greatest family to ever live in wrestling. What are you thinking in this first act of this film? First thoughts.
Truly, I thought this is so heavy-handed and none of it's working already. I was never bought into this movie. I did not jump in. Nothing ever brought me in. We have Moira Tierney, who I was like, okay, great. We know she's a great actor. I've seen her in a couple of things and she's been really solid every time. And I was also thinking they're not going to give Zac Efron, who has not done, and to my knowledge, a very serious, big leading role like this, a movie like this to carry at Christmas time if he doesn't nail it. And I was like, yes, we're finally going to get to see Zac Efron, this person who we all wrote off as a bad actor or as a, fluffy actor, do something really groundbreaking, because I think that's how these movies work a lot of the time. You cast like Brendan Fraser in The Whale, which I did not see, but he is supposed to be. We're ready to see somebody do something different, and I thought they must have entrusted him for a reason. And my first thoughts were, oh shit, he is not doing it. No one's doing it. The dad is over the top, heavy-handed. Zac Efron looks like he's trying to act and isn't doing a good job. And I hate coming on here and just talking crap about other actors, but that's maybe what I noticed because I notice acting, that I just thought nobody was convincing me of anything in this movie. There was no love between the family. I guess I understood that the dad was overbearing and really pressuring them a lot, so that did come through. But I thought I was a little heavy-handed on the directing, on the acting, on everything. The tone overall didn't quite click for me. What did you think?
Yeah, thank you for giving us your opinion on there. I'm similar to you. I thought this film, when I saw the trailer, was going to be like brooding and nuanced. And so I'm always a slave to my expectations in film, and this was not nuanced. I'm close to what you're saying about the movie. I was kind of like, oof, this is a little clumsy for me specifically. But I'm just going to talk about taste right now. In film, for me, and I might have said it on this pod before, with acting and writing, I like a little more subtlety and not lines or performances that are like, hey, I got to make this overly honest of what this scene is doing, And the first time we meet Fritz von Erich, the dad, he's like very plainly taking what's felt like me like first draft lines, talking about the family and the direction of the family. And it feels like he's going through these lines being like, hey, viewers that came into this film, let me introduce you to my family in the first act of this film. And it's just preference, because I'm not as successful as the filmmaker of this, but like just preference where I don't know what the dad was like in real life, but I would like the subtlety of the dad not talking to them and just being quiet in the other room watching wrestling. And that to me gives me the message, more than like having to actually literally tell me, okay, this is the beginning of the movie. This is what's important in this first act, And filmmakers are always struggling with this level of how obvious to make their films. And this one to me, with a performance from Holt McCallany that plays the dad, who's always good in everything, I thought this was clumsy. I thought it was written really clumsy. And off the bat, I feel bad, man, because I really wanted to see this film and like this film. Zac Efron is playing something that, to me, who's not an actor, thinks is a really hard thing to play. And that's someone who doesn't show a lot of emotion, but it's brooding underneath the surface. And I think that takes a really skilled actor, a really skilled director to find that character. And right off the bat in the first act, it felt like flat. Nothing.
Uh-huh.
Damn, I'm sorry, I'm roasting this movie. I don't mean to do it because it's like about a family tragedy. And on paper, it's a really cool idea.
I just was sitting here trying to be quiet going, You're just saying everything I felt. So who do you, this might be jumping too far into the future, but who do you cast? And I honestly don't blame the actors fully for just having a poor performance. I don't think that's it. I think there were some really good actors here. I just think maybe the direction of it and the writing of it and the overall vision from the jump maybe could have been refined more to my taste. That being said, I will second what you said, Assad, and say that I like a very specific thing that is tailored that's just enough for me to grasp, but not too above my pay grade mentally and not too below it. This was too below it for me. But how do you do that? Do you teach to this dumbest kid in the school in the class, or do you teach to the smartest, or do you teach to someone in between? And how do you know who your audience is and how to play to that? Truly, that's a question I'm asking you.
Well, I think it's vision, man. I think, that word gets thrown around a lot with filmmakers, but you truly have to have a vision. And who knows? I could be the dumbass that's like, this director could have had this vision for the film, and he could have executed it perfectly. I'm just saying, specifically as my taste, I'm like, whew, this film, the way it's shot, cinematography, and the director of photography is so good. It's so pretty the way it's shot, especially the wrestling shots. It's so brooding, so dark, and it's like ambient. But the performances and the writing really threw me off. And in the second act, we finally get to meet the electricity of the film just because we're big Bear fans. Jeremy Allen White comes in and we're like, yes.
Carmy's here.
Carmy's here,
He's here to save the film.
Who plays Carrie Von Erich, who's a shot putter who's practicing for the Olympics, but then that's the year the Olympics didn't happen. So he comes back home and Fritz is like, hey, join your brothers in the ring. And I'm like, okay, maybe if I'm not digging the first act, the second act's in Jeremy Allen White's hands, and here we go. How did you feel about the second act?
Well, first of all, can you demonstrate what a shot putter is?
A shot putter.
This?
It's this thing.
Oh.
You feel like it's like when you have a neck tumor, but you're throwing the neck tumor off of your neck.
Oh, wait, they hold, is it a disc?
Yeah, I think so.
And they hold it here?
It's a ball.
Oh.
It's a metal ball.
A tiny little ball, and they just...
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, yes, I felt the same way. I think I was sitting there going, it's okay. Jeremy Allen White's in this movie. We're in good hands.
It's all right. We can get over the first act.
We're in good hands. We know if he signed on and he said yes to this, there's a reason for it.
Yes.
And in Jeremy Allen White, we trust.
Yes.
Right? As once we saw you as Carmy in The Bear, we were all in.
Hey, Hollywood, really quickly. Whoever's making X-Men, he's your Wolverine. Stop overthinking it. He's your Wolverine. Don't do that. Don't think he's not Hugh Jackman enough. He's dark. He's your Wolverine.
Oh.
Okay, sorry.
I thought you were going to say the Beast.
No.
My favorite X-Men character. Who should play the new Storm?
Ooh.
Go. All right, well, that was the clip we were going to use, and now you fucking ruined it, so there's that. Jesus Christ, Assad. What?
I'm sorry. Will you edit it to come in right and now and just edit that one line? I think that'd be funny to have people guess what I said there.
I'm going to.
Okay, thank you.
Because I can't let that fly because I love you too much. All right. Midway point, Jeremy Allen White is the one kid, the one still alive kid, who is not part of the wrestling community because he's going to the Olympics, and Dad is proud as shit of him. And so we're like, oh, finally, someone's going to come in and save the movie. Then we cut to Jeremy Allen White. He's doing the thing. And the coach announces that we're not going to the Olympics this year because of the war. We're pulling out. America's not participating. And then Jeremy Allen White is just depressed and on a bus back home to his mean dad and his absent mother and his jacked brothers.
And I think this is a cool part. I was engaged. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is we meet this character, and he's also like immediately has something he has to overcome. His dad immediately says, hey, let's go to the ring now that you don't have the Olympics. And I think this is cool. The story's moving forward with me. The only thing is that when you take on these true life stories, there's so much information, and it's so hard to pick what to put in a 2-hour film when you're detailing a lot of people's whole lives. And this film, for me, in the first and second act, is bringing up a lot of little things that I would like to see a movie made out of, but it can't finish them because it's restrained to a 2-hour movie. Like, I could have watched a movie between what you see as a budding rivalry, but still camaraderie between Zac Efron's character, Kevin, and Jeremy Allen White's Carrie, because Kevin thought he was the golden goose. He was going to be the next world champion, which is the ultimate goal in the family. Then Jeremy Allen White is a little bit better looking, better wrestler, and better on the mic, and he supersedes him. And that's interesting. That's an interesting family dynamic because I come from a family with brothers. But then it doesn't spend a lot of time there either. It introduces the idea, but doesn't spend a lot of time there. And Zac Efron has to play the guy who's got to wait his turn. Jeremy Allen White becomes a champion. And then you're introduced to what I didn't know is the family curse of the Von Erichs.
Well, 2 questions,
Yes.
2 follow-up questions. Who was the best on the mic of your brothers?
Oof, it's a good question.
And who was the best wrestler?
You know, wrestling was always a little too effeminate for me.
What? You love wrestling. What are you talking about?
No, I mean like high school wrestling. Like rubbing up against a sweaty dude was like not my bag.
Toxic masculinity at its finest.
What am I?
I'm rubber and you're glue, bitch.
Yeah.
It was not a rhetorical question, but it was a, in theory, not who's the actual best wrestler. I know none of you wrestled. Who was the best wrestler and who was the best on the mic?
Well, my oldest brother Mustafa was probably the best wrestler. I was the best on the mic.
On the mic,
and
yeah.
KJ was the most balanced of us all for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the second question was, have you ever heard of the Von Erich family prior to this movie? Did you know anything about them?
You know, I came into wrestling a little bit after them.
Okay.
You know, they were in the 1980s, and I came in like early 90s.
Okay.
I came in like I was wrestling. Like Vince McMahon called me fucking directly.
You found it, whatever.
That's when I really got into it. So I bet I saw a couple of them, but wasn't fans of them specifically. Man, I'm thinking about breaking down this movie right now, Sarah, and I'm bummed I didn't love this movie. It had all the things that I wanted, man. And listen, make Jeremy Allen White the main character, assholes.
100%. 100%. And I wonder if it was something where he wasn't available for the schedule or what. Why did he sign on to this movie?
Again, we're in the minority. Spoiler alert, too. I don't want to ruin it, but I think most people like this movie, and if you did, we do not want to ruin it for you. It just didn't hit me at all, and I really wanted to like it.
This is also a film I saw the preview for and immediately texted out. I was like,
I'm down. Yeah, I'm down.
Look what I saw. Someone's excited. A wrestling movie. And unfortunately, it really let us down. And it let us down quick, and it never redeemed itself. So from the start of the film, I thought, yikes, this isn't good. And then you said exactly what I wrote down, which was that feeling of, it's okay, a good actor that we trust is coming in, and they wouldn't have cast him, and he wouldn't have accepted the role if he wasn't coming in to do a big, good thing. Unfortunately, he didn't. And he didn't do a bad job by any means. It just didn't do anything. His role was quite small, and it didn't really do anything to benefit or take away from the film in any way. He just was there, and he had good performances and good moments, but we were hoping for our white horse, our white knight to come and save us, and unfortunately, he was white, but he was not a knight.
And I don't want to yada like the second and third act of this film, but just so you guys know, spoiler alert too, please turn this off if you haven't seen the film and don't want it spoiled for you. You get introduced to this family's curse. You know, Jeremy Allen White's character, Carrie, wins the world championship, goes on a bike ride that night, and gets his leg removed from him in a motorcycle accident that night. Then tragedy, the skinnier brother Mike Von Erich, they coach him up, teach him how to be a better wrestler. He takes a bad fall and something happens to his shoulder. Then complications in surgery render him like almost non-functional. And then, you know, all of these brothers are experiencing this real tragedy where I think an interesting part of the film, and I want to just make sure that I give some credit to it, it's like, this is why this film should have been made. This is really a unique story of real tragedy happening to one specific family. You know, so much that Zac Efron's character, Kevin, is like changing his boys' names now that he's married to his new girlfriend and like wants to stay away from the house because he's afraid he's going to pass down the curse. And when the film does work, you get Maura Tierney having sons pass away, and she's having to wear the same funeral dress that she wore a couple years previous, and she's worried about someone noticing. You know, the tragedy resonated with me. I would say that's probably when the film is working for me. How about you?
The fact that this is a true story.
Yeah.
The fact that this woman lost. Her 6-year-old son, he was electrocuted. We don't meet him in the film, but we hear about him. He was electrocuted and then drowned when he was 6 years old. Then she has 4 more boys.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And one of them dies of, it wasn't an arm injury that he died of, it was a ruptured intestine.
Yeah.
One of them dies from complications with that. One of them loses a leg in a motorcycle accident. And then ultimately, again, spoiler alert, commits suicide. And then the other brother commits suicide. So out of 5 boys, I believe they're left with 1.
Yes.
And the fact that that's a real true story is fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And like you said, I didn't really think of it until you said that. I'm like, yeah, this is a great story. It just, I think it suffered from a poor script adaptation and unfortunately, I think poor direction.
Yeah.
I don't know that even the acting was the worst part. It seems that way, but we've discussed this a million times on the show where it's like when you see a film, it's such a collaborative effort. Who do you blame when it's bad? Who do you laud when it's great? But I think that for me, when I'm watching this, I'm thinking there's poor performances, but truly, I know that these aren't bad actors. I'm not seeing crazy bad performances. I believe that it is the directors and the writers' problem.
Yeah, and I think we need to lament the fact that we're in the minority here. I think people really like this film. Some people that I really love, film critics that I like, are really loving this film, how it played out, love Zac Efron's performance. So it's just interesting. You know, if you've seen it in the comments, let us know how terribly wrong we are, if we're wrong and what we're not seeing. But yeah, mine was performance-based, writing-based, and it's so weird. Sean Durkin, who wrote and directed this, I'm a big fan of his. Sarah hit me to a movie previous to this called Martha May, Marcy, Marlene that he did.
He directed that?
Yes, it's so fucking good, right?
That movie's so
it's
good.
Fucking brilliant. That movie's fucking brilliant. Yeah, so, and I really love directors that are up and coming like this, trying to do different things. That's a very different film than this one, you know? So if I'm not seeing something, or if we're not collectively seeing something, maybe we're just like having a shitty day and it bled into the film. But for me, I'm just like, damn, I wish these were happening. Because if we fast forward towards the ending, Zac Efron's character is left there alone. He's got boys of his own, and he's miserable, you know? He's lost all of his brothers. In a frightening scene where he finally confronts his dad. That's long overdue after he takes over the family business and sells it. And there's this really crescendo moment of him playing in the yard with his kids, and he's watching them. And of course, naturally, he's thinking about his brothers, and he starts crying. And the kids come back and like, "Why are you crying, Dad?" And he's like, "I'm just sad. You know, I miss my brothers." And they're like, "We'll be your brothers." And it's really written well. And I think if you were in this movie, that must have jerked your heart out of its like cavity, you know, because it was such a strong moment. To me, I just couldn't get back past like what it didn't do to earn that moment, though.
Yeah.
And really saw like a missed opportunity.
It's interesting because at the end of this film, there was a scene, and again, of course, as we've said 13 times, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about one of the last scenes of the film. After, as we call him, Carmy, Jeremy Allen White from The Bear, he dies, and it's sad, and Zac Efron runs outside and finds his body, and there's a scene where right after that we see Jeremy Allen White just canoeing in a paddle boat with a young boy, paddling on a quiet, calm river. And he's with a young boy, and the little boy says, "Hi, brother," and Carmy says, "It's nice to finally meet you." So this is his 6-year-old brother who he's never met, who was his older brother, who died when he was 6. And they're meeting in this paddle boat to heaven, apparently. And guys, I don't know. Assad really hated that scene.
Man, I felt bad because this is the type of movie that if this movie is working for you, then these scenes really kill it for you. I can tell. You know, I bet there's a bunch of bros that are like, cried for the first time in their life, you know, and they're like,
I think my mom would have liked this scene too, yeah.
But me, I was out. And so this scene to me was like, whoa, man, that's a bold choice, which I dig directors making bold choices like this. But it still echoed the same problem I had with almost the first act, which is like he gets off the boat into this field. He's like, "Is this my brother?" And he's saying that for you, the fan, who might not make the connection. And then the other brothers are waiting there, and then they hug, and like, that scene, if you're gonna do it, I would say just like don't make any dialogue in it. But they really wanted to string you along. Maybe they were just like, hey, dumb wrestling fans are gonna be watching this.
Yeah.
So let's really like string them along. But the way the filmmaking is so artistic, it doesn't fit the message of the film being so overt. Because the filmmaking is so nuanced and beautiful, you know? So, I was bummed, man. I didn't want to poo-poo this film. I was trying to find good things to say about this film. So maybe we go to Rose and Thorn. But
I was just going to say, well, what's your rose if you want to find something good to say about it?
Oof, man. I think Maura Tierney probably wins this film for me in a smaller role because she has a very small role in character and in actually screen time. But she has two very powerful scenes. And I really love a person that has a lot going on that doesn't say a lot. And I think that the scenes that she was in really, really delivered the best out of any other people who had that like really good scene, you know?
Are you ready to hear my rose?
Yes.
Moira Tierney.
Okay, all right. The one woman in it.
We did not discuss this. No, Lily James is in this movie as well. No, there was she wasn't my rose, but there was a scene that worked for me with her that was actually subtle, which this movie didn't deal in subtlety. Assad actually mentioned it earlier, and I was like, shh, you be quiet, you're ruining my rose. Where she's going to the funeral of her fourth child, which I'm not somebody who has children, but I can imagine just heart-wrenching having to deal with that.
Childless? What a weirdo.
Yeah, we definitely make fun. You're coming off great in this pod, Assad. You're making fun of women for not having children or being able to conceive. This is awkward. No, so she has this moment where she's going to, like I said, the funeral of her fourth child. And it's a very small, very quick scene. And one of her family members has laid out her black funeral dress on the bed. And she's like, I can't wear the same dress. They're going to know that I wore this dress, that people are going to talk about the fact that I'm wearing the same dress to all four of the funerals. And I can't, and it's just that devastation of, we learned in therapy, it's never about what it's about. So it's not about the dress. It's very clear she's not worried about people worrying about judging her what she's wearing, who wore it better. But it's just that sadness of loss and that real big, heavy moment of this woman has lost so much.
Yeah. And what's weird to me, Sarah, that's the best scene in the film for me.
Yeah.
Is that that's the subtlety and the craftsmanship I wanted the whole movie to have.
Completely agree.
That tonality, I thought we were going to get the whole time. And yeah, they're using symbolism in there, an actual symbol to represent it. You don't have to use symbolism the whole time. But the way they focused on a dress and her just staring dead-eye at it, you feel it, you know? The rest of the movie felt like, hey, I've had kids die, and now I'm going to have wear another kids die outfit. And then it's sad that I'm going to have to make another kids die outfit. I'm going to have to put it on. And it's like, oh, you don't have to explain that. It's
we
like,
got it. Yeah.
And that's why I just wanted this movie to be a little bit more subtle. I guess I'm repeating myself. I don't want to bore you to death. But like, I really wanted to like this film. Really, so much. But I really thought it just did not get there for me, man. In a lot of ways, unfortunately.
I completely agree. And so much so that we were planning on watching this movie for the podcast. Yeah. Went and saw it, and we were like, guess we're not podding about that. That was terrible. But yeah, we decided to come on and talk about it anyways. But I completely agree. It was so ham-fisted and heavy-handed and weirdly hallmarky and just none of it worked.
The night Jeremy Allen White wins the belt, he's like, it's too much work, man. I just need a bike ride. I was like, what?
After 18 bottles of whiskey?
Whoa, man. Whoa. I don't know. I just think, it's easy for me to sit here and talk shit, but when you're trying to chronicle 5 different people's lives, I know you just have to pick parts of certain parts that like led to a dramatic point, but it definitely felt like that in the film. It's like you're just picking this part up. We didn't spend enough time with any type of like trial there. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah. My thorn was, unfortunately, again, I don't love to... I feel like I just come on here and shit on actors, which is not at all what I hope to do. And I don't think I'm better than anybody or more talented than anybody. But I think that ultimately my thorn was the fact that they cast Zac Efron in this role. I don't think it really suited him. think he did his best and that he really committed to the physicality of it and probably worked very hard in it. And I don't even ultimately really blame him. I ultimately, as I said before, I think the real issue is the direction. The director of this film maybe didn't have a clear vision, or maybe his vision didn't align with what I would have liked to have seen, which apparently, as Assad said, is doing very well with everybody else. So the director's vision didn't align with what I thought this movie could have done better.
Yeah.
So that was my thorn. What was your thorn?
Same thing. I can't believe we were agreeing on all of this. It's just a shit fest. But like, I could not stop seeing Zac Efron. You know, wig with bangs. It just looked like Zac Efron the whole time, and he didn't do enough for me specifically to disappear into the character. It's like, this is just Zac Efron playing a dude with bangs. But listen, thank you for making this movie. Don't let our opinion ever sway you from going to see a movie. I could see how, especially a real life tragedy like this, I don't know. It's an interesting story, and some people are really, really loving it. So experience it if you have the time. Then let us know how wrong we were about Iron Claw.
Yeah, please let us know if you did enjoy this film. Please let us know what you liked about it, why it worked for you. I think Zac Efron's performance he was supposed to be a little awkward, just good at sports, I think, and not so good at talking and thinking and doing the other things, which we all are that way, right? We all have our strengths and weaknesses, and his was supposed to be that, and I think that's probably why they cast him. But unfortunately, it's not as easy as that. I think you have to, like Assad said before, you have to have something going on behind the eyes. You have to be the brooding, and I just don't think that it came across in this film for us with Zac. Not to say I would not go see another movie with him acting in it, not to say anybody did something wrong, but it didn't work for me personally, and apparently Assad personally.
Yeah, there's two different types of like movie stars. Well, there's a lot of different kind, but you can get one that looks just great, that looks like a movie star. And I like to use this comparison. It's like Sydney Sweeney, or the actress that plays Queen's Gambit?
Ooh.
Sorry, we should know her name.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy, but that's the difference of like Sydney Sweeney's just beautiful to look at. She's a pretty person. Mm-hmm. But Anya Taylor-Joy is interesting to look at. She looks like she has some shit going on. And Zac Efron to me is like, a good-looking guy. He's bulk and whatever, but he doesn't look like, not to say he doesn't, but like it doesn't look like he has stuff going on the same way like an Anya Taylor-Joy or a Jeremy Allen White in this movie. Looks like they have something going on. And if you're going to play someone who's not talking a lot, it really benefits you to make it look like you're thinking about things. And just didn't happen for me.
Makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
So this movie, my gummy rating is 5 gummies.
Damn, we haven't had a 5 gummy rating in a while.
Not since Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Not since the old Oppie, which you were dead wrong on. I can't wait to see how embarrassed you are when it gets all the Oscars.
I'm not going to be embarrassed. I'm going to be pissed. Are you kidding me? In my mind, I am right. I am the foremost authority on all films.
I want you to be watching the Oscars, putting on makeup like for the Trinity test, like just waiting for the... waiting for Oppie to win all the fucking
No, I'm going to be
awards.
Florence Pugh in that. I'm just going to be naked in the middle of a conference room.
Why is she naked, Christopher Nolan? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't complain about her being naked.
Nobody else is. Only
DTF swimmers, thank you so much. Sorry, this was a bummer of a pod, but we can't jazz it up. We can't lie to you guys.
Hold on. I can.
Okay.
We loved Iron Claw.
Oh,
jazz.
Smash that like button.
No, but thank you to all of our subscribers on Patreon, on YouTube memberships. We really appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Anyone who hasn't subscribed, if you want to, please do. You get early content. You get lots of things that our regular viewers are not privy to. Very exciting stuff. Either way, thank you so much for joining us. Let us know what you thought. If you did see the movie, if you didn't see the movie, why you didn't see it. If you did, why you did, what you thought, all that fun stuff. Let us know, and we will be back with another fun review very soon. Thanks, guys.